Welcome back, everybody. I'm Josh Fenton, CEO of GoLocal. You're in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center right here in downtown Providence. It is sunny, it is Halloween, and I've got Billy Hunt. Billy Hunt is running for state representative over in the Bristol-Warren area. The mixture of the East Bay, coastal towns, thriving dramatically.
Very much.
I mean, Bristol and Warren are red hot. Used to go down there 10 years ago, and both towns' main streets were virtually ghost towns, and now they're posh. Is posh the right word for the eclectic collection of retailers?
It is definitely interesting what's going on down there. The restaurant scene in Bristol and Warren, especially Warren as of late, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Anybody that wants to take a 20-minute drive out of Providence and head down there, please do. There's some great restaurants. My favorite, I would have to say, is the Square Peg down in Warren, so for sure.
So, yeah, we go down there regularly, especially, sit by the water. It's great. You don't always have to go all the way down to Newport coming from Providence.
Free parking too.
We don't have that in Providence.
No,
In
no.
Providence, we want to tax the bejesus out of you. You're running as a libertarian.
Yes, sir.
And, for the average person who doesn't know what a librarian is, I just tease you, we were talking about it before, that when you go door to door, sometimes people mix up, can't quite hear, don't know what a libertarian is. It is not a librarian.
No,
okay. Give us a little overview of what sort of the philosophy of the party is.
Sure. Well, the Libertarian Party is the third largest political party. We were started back in the 70s, and quite frankly, we are, like what I like to say, is the best of both political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats.
Sure.
We agree with a lot of the Democrats, typically on a lot of the social issues, and we do agree with a lot of the Republicans, and again, the cliche on a lot of the conservative issues on the fiscal conservative nature of things. We are the party of principle, so every single platform on the Libertarian National Platform is very well spelled out, and we actually debate it and we talk about it all the time at our national conventions, and we're talking about commas, specific issues that need to be addressed, that we make sure that we agree as a party, and we adhere to those principles as libertarians.
Former Massachusetts Governor
Bill
Weld, he was kind of liberal, then he ran for the U.S. Senate against John Kerry back in the day. Kind of a moderate Republican in the kind of the John Chafee mode, is now a leader in the Libertarian Party. He sort of moved out of Republicanism and gone to the Libertarians. Is that who the party's now kind of attracting? People who are kind of fed up with the polarization of the two political parties, and they're moving over towards taking active role in the Libertarian Party?
Well, that's a misconception, actually, is that a lot of people think that we're just light Republicans. Bill Weld he ran as for vice president on the Libertarian ticket this last election cycle.
In 16,
Yep,
right?
and he's going for the presidential nomination for the Libertarian Party this time around. But getting back to the point, we're getting a lot of both Republicans who, on issues like gay marriage and immigration, where they agree with us and they're coming over to the Libertarian side, and a lot of the Kennedy Democrats who are getting really fed up with the way that the progressive movement in the state is moving, and the tax and spend liberals that are taking over not only this state but a lot of the states in the country as a whole.
You ran previously.
Yes.
How'd you do?
I did great, I think. I ran my entire campaign in 2016 and earned I ran it on $2,000 and earned 38% of the vote for a first-time candidate as the librarian.
Right.
And I ran against the House Deputy Majority Leader, Ken Marshall,
Right.
Who actually...
Well-established guy down in the East Bay.
Yeah, well-established, had very good name recognition. He had spent 21 years, he retired this election cycle, spent 21 years between town council and the state legislature. And one of the reasons why you guys were kind enough to have me on is he was one of the people that just came out as of last night and signed a bipartisan letter of endorsement for my campaign. So my opponent from 2 years ago has endorsed me over the Democratic nominee in my race right now.
So very unusual, and I wanted to jump over to that. You've gotten the endorsements of very prominent, very well-known community Republicans and Democrats in both Bristol and Warren. Very unusual situation in this day and age of, partisan extremism, which no Republican wants to be seen with a Democrat, no Democrat with a Republican. You've been able to bridge in a local community a bunch of high-profile endorsements. What's the secret of that besides you just being a nice guy and as a librarian writing off all those late fees?
Well, so I think that has a lot to do with it. I am a nice
the
guy.
Late fees.
Well, the late fees, true.
Yeah, right.
But no, I am a nice, affable guy. I'm a respectable, upstanding member of the community. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a homeowner. I'm a small business owner. I work in the commercial insurance industry, so I deal with small businesses on a daily basis, and I see the struggles it takes to run these small businesses in our state. And quite frankly, I think what happens is that a lot of people tend to vote strictly based upon the letter that precedes the person's name on the ballot. And I think having this bipartisan endorsement of my campaign speaks very highly to me as a candidate, not only, but it also reinforces the idea that you should be voting for the individual, not for the party. We really need to get away from this political partisanship in this country. On a national level, yes, but it has been filtering down to these local races. And you really need to educate yourself from the top of the ticket for governor all the way down to the school committee, and know who you're voting for, know what they stand for, know who's donating to their campaigns, and what special interests they're in the pocket of. Again, I ran my campaign on $2,000 last year. I'll probably run it on about $3,500 this year. So I'm really only...
So much for feeding the economy here in Rhode Island, Billy.
And my number one issue is lowering taxes and shrinking the size of government. So.
Small printers in Warren and Bristol. Don't look for any relief from this guy. Jeez.
Well, it's a lot of hard work, but it's like I said, fundraising is obviously not my strong suit, but I think the message is resonating, and I think, as demonstrated by the endorsement, people really like what I have to say.
So I won. We were talking in the green room beforehand. I was on the Providence City Council, probably before you were born, and when I got elected as an independent, I was the only independent of the 15 members of the City Council. My caucuses were often held in phone booths during half times of Providence College games. They were very intimate. What do you do when you get up there? Who do you caucus with? How are you a player? How are you influential? Because at some point, you got to get stuff done, right? It's great to be, tilting at windmills, but you got to get legislation passed. You want to make an impact. Who do you caucus with if elected?
Sure. Well, like my dad likes to say, I'm kind of like a dog chasing a car. I really don't know what I'm going to do once I actually catch it. But I have given this some thought, and I really, caucusing with a specific group, I wouldn't imagine myself caucusing with the Democrats because that's the majority party up there. I might be able to find some coalitions with, hopefully there's some good independents running this year, and we'll have some more independents will have the same issues the same position that I'm in without having a group to associate with. And the Republican Party, the elected officials that are up there have been very supportive of my campaign. So I think that I would probably gravitate towards them.
You've absolutely proven that you are ready for elected office. You did not answer one bit of my question. Who are you caucusing with, Democrats or Republicans?
I think both.
Joe, turn up the hot lights. Let's get this guy going.
I think it depends on the issue, to be honest with you. I think that,
So they each have little parties, right? And they
Yes.
get together to elect their leaders. And they're going to say, hey, come to our party. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like pledging a fraternity. Yeah. Think of it that way. Which fraternity are you joining? The ones in red that have the cool red jackets, or the cool ones that have the blue jackets?
Well, again, I think it depends on the issue. And again, it comes down to the party of principle. So when I get elected, all the other representatives up at the State House need to realize that I'm not going to compromise my principles to just be in the cool kids
You
club.
understand you're running for the Rhode Island General Assembly?
Hey, you know what? It's something that, I ran on this, that it needs to change up there. Having a third party, even independents up at the State House, would give a little bit of a perspective to the members up there and allow them to, really think about their positions and see if there's, a compromise that can be had and not this just vitriol and animosity between the two main parties that are up there.
This week it came out that Speaker Mattiello, WPRI, had a story, I think, that there was a incident of sexual harassment by Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Cale Keeble against another representative, Kazarian from East Providence, right up the road from you, from Bristol Warren. And let's start with Cale Keeble. Should he resign as Judiciary Committee Chair?
Well, I wouldn't go that far as saying that he should resign right off the bat. Obviously, I believe that there's some type of investigation and due process, and that if something comes out that it's proven, I know there's an accusation in an email that was associated with that.
His law. I mean, let's put brass tacks on. His law firm has suspended him.
I understand that. Again, I mean, he is an elected official, and just like what's happening with Jazel Correa down in Fall River, I think that there is a higher level of responsibility as an elected official when something like that comes out. But that's really a decision that's up to him about whether or not he thinks that he can still represent his constituents without having it be too much of a distraction.
Should he go back as chair of Judiciary? I mean, I think we're past allegation. I think it's pretty much been recognized that the incident took place. The House Speaker had to assign a senior staff member to accompany the representative who was the victim of the sexual harassment to go to committee hearings so that she had some level of support to be able to have her bills heard in Judiciary. That seems about the most whacked out solution to a problem that I've heard in government, that literally we have to have sponsors go and help the victim who's been elected to go and have their legislation heard.
Well, that is a reflection of the dysfunction that we have in our General Assembly and the way that our committee leaders are elected and appointed to those positions themselves. I'm in huge favor of changing the rules about how much power the Speaker of the House has, no matter who it is, whether it's Mattiello or somebody else that gets elected. It should be up to that specific committee to decide who their chairperson is and to vote them in based upon their merit, their ability to work with people from not only different sides of the aisles but within their own party. I think there's way too much power centered in the Democrat-controlled legislature up there right now, and you're seeing these problems bubble up to the surface because of that lack of a duopoly or a monopoly that's going on in the State House right now, and that's why we need more third-party candidates and elected to the House.
Should Speaker Mattiello return as Speaker in 2019?
Well, that's. I mean,
you get a vote on that one.
Well, it depends if he gets reelected, to be honest with you.
So let's assume he gets reelected.
If he gets reelected, I'd have to see who the candidates are that were going up for the position. As much as I think Nick Mattiello is a controversial figure as Speaker of the House, on par, I think he's more of a moderate Democrat and tends to, do things good things for business per se, and
he's certainly been. I think in our experience, what we've seen is he's probably been the most pro-business Speaker of the House. But boy, he's piling up the controversies.
Well, that's a function and a result of the monopoly of Democratic leaders up there, and it's hard to keep control of this three-ring circus that's going on in the Big Tent of the Democratic Party. This is something that we need to elect somebody that is somebody that's going to get elected that doesn't just have to cater only to the Democrats. They have to reach across the aisle, get independents, get Republicans on board in order for them to have that vote. And my biggest fear is that, with the progressive wave that's taking over this entire state, we may get a speaker up there that is a real progressive liberal that is going to be terrible for business and terrible for the state. And that's somebody who I will not vote for when elected to the House of Representatives.
Have you had folks reach out to you? Has Speaker Mattiello reached out to you?
No.
Has anybody else reached out to you saying, hey, if you get elected, we want you on our team?
I don't know. Nobody really goes to the library anymore. So, I honestly,
why can't a libertarian get a damn respect? Haven't they tried to buy you off with committee assignments and parking spaces?
Well, to be honest with you, my opponent spent about $25,000 in his primary race, where less than 20% of the voting population came out to vote. So I don't think a lot of people gave me a lot of respect in this race to begin with, and I think a lot of people underestimated me in this, which is at their own peril because, again, I ran $2,000 and got 38% of the vote 2 years ago. And I think what's happening right now is you see a lot of people, moderate Democrats, those are the people I'm getting the best response from at the door when I'm knocking throughout the district. They're the ones that are coming out out and saying, I can't believe what's happening in this town. I can't believe what's happening in this state. I'm going to walk away from the party. I'm going to vote for you as a third-party candidate because I can't support this Democratic nominee. So really, I think that that's just a reflection of what's going on in this state, and it should translate up to the State House, and people should be able to deal with that.
Beyond breaking up sort of the political logjam and the dominance of the Democratic Party, from a legislative standpoint, is there a particular issue that you feel very strong, passionate about, that you're running on from a local standpoint that you think is most important for the legislature to take on?
Yep. Number one issue is the tax issue in this state. We have the highest tax burden, both corporate taxes and personal taxes. Our personal taxes are about 27% higher than the national average, for state and local taxes for an effective rate. So when you're deciding where you're going to live, having that tax burden is a huge issue. I met a constituent.
So we have a rule, though. We have a rule that if you come on GoLocal and you say, I'm going to cut taxes, what are you going to cut in expenditures?
Of course. Well, there's a ton of waste and expense that's going on.
Give me one.
Well, we need to audit the state budget, and we need to see the waste and fraud that are going on in all these departments. The Commerce Corporation is the number one thing that I would go after, formerly the Economic Development Corporation. Here is a department that gets millions of dollars, and all they do is pick winners and losers at the State House, and they give away our tax monies to big corporate interests that come into this state with the promise of jobs. And what we have is a huge organization that has a huge bureaucracy of people that all are getting full salaries, paid extremely well, the best and the brightest, as the governor likes to say.
Yeah.
They have full benefits, and they're giving away millions of dollars in tax dollars. Instead of going ahead and picking winners and losers, like I said, and having them give money to their friends and their special interests, why don't we just eliminate the whole entire department and cut the corporate tax rate by a factor across the board for everyone, for the Commerce Department to be shut down?
Commerce out, tax cuts in,
Yes,
correct?
of course,
okay.
yeah.
And I appreciate that, because a lot of time folks come on and say, waste and fraud, waste and fraud. Okay, where's the waste and where's the fraud? And let's
give you
get
more
at
too. Another one that I always like to harp on is the pet services tax. So 80% of people in this state and in the country tend to own pets.
Yeah.
In the state, the Chafee administration instituted a 7% pet services tax. Now, I bring my rescue dog Penny to doggy daycare once a week. We board her when we go on vacation. She gets groomed once a month. And the state is taking 7% of that pet service tax, which makes businesses that run those pet services, those small business owners that are the salt of the earth, it makes them uncompetitive with we live in Bristol and Warren, Massachusetts.
You can go right across the line.
Right across the line, and they're going to have to cut their prices by 7% in order to compete with them. Not only that, but in order to comply with the sales tax, these small business owners are forced to be tax collectors for the state. They have to go ahead and collect these taxes, then report and pay the sales tax back to the state on a monthly basis, because the state can't wait to get their revenue in the general fund.
Can you imagine the taxes? If you're a cat and you've got 9 lives, you've got birth, death, and taxes times 9.
Times 9.
Yeah. What's 9
escape
times 7? I can't even do the math here. Listen, Billy, I want to thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations on pulling together bipartisan support. Pleasure having you on and hearing your perspective, and appreciate all the honest answers here on GoLocal Live. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Laura Fonso's great show with some of the best drink makers around town. Dee Dee Whitman, who was on earlier, and Billy Hunt, candidate for state representatives in Bristol Warren. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. The Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Stay tuned. We're around the clock. We're always updating on GoLocal. We'll see you back